So, how many people do you think are doing Zoom meetings every single day? What do you think? It's actually over 300 million people are doing Zoom meetings every day, and that number is just increasing and increasing and increasing. So, in this little video, I'm going to tell you about my little prep sheet, my little cheat sheet that I've been using for about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more now, that has been really transformational for me and really improved my online meetings. And I'm going to share that with you right now. So what initiated this was I was actually part of a mastermind. In fact, I put this mastermind together for online presentations. I know you two heavyweights. They had Lee Warren and Ash Pemberton from totally different areas. Ash is a real expert in the graphics online presentations, and Lee is a presentation expert from the idea of delivery, from how to use your hands and your vocality and the technical aspects of it. So together, it was a really profound and I think a really rewarding and excellent masterclass. Now, to put that event together, I had to put a little sheet of paper, not too dissimilar to this one, or at least half of it, to make sure we had all the technical elements absolutely bang on, because this was a live event and I couldn't have any screw ups and it had to be slick, right? So I needed to have a little checklist that I went through to make sure that was perfect. And that was sensible and that was very useful. But what's really been great is then after that event, there was so much gold in that event. I then added to this sheet and embellished it and improved it, and it's improved a few times since to become a really, really vital tool for me, actually more so than I ever could have imagined. And I'm going to walk you through it in a moment and actually even give you access. You can just download a copy yourself or encourage you to create your own. So let's take a look at that right now. So remember, this was primarily created for myself and for my own benefit. There's a little reminder here at the top here to remind me that, amateurs practice until they get something right, but professionals practice until they can't do it wrong. So, putting things like this in place are really professional, sound approach to make sure that we are delivering the best meetings that we can. We are all doing more online meetings than we've ever done before for obvious reasons, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So if you are in a position where you are talking to customers or prospects over a meeting, then this is something we all need to get better at, for absolute sure. In fact, in many cases, our businesses depend on it. So, I really sort of took on board the challenge of upping my game and improving my own performance. And this sheet has been really integral in me being able to do that. So I'm going to walk you through the left-hand side first before we walk through the right-hand side, which is a more technical bit. So on the left here, we have a title, which is just the topic, the subject matter of that particular meeting. If it's a prospect I've not worked with before, I might just put their name there so I don't forget. And then we get to the hook. Now, the hook is a really important element. So if I'm speaking to a big audience, I've got 1,000 people in that audience, 2,000 more people, then I absolutely will always use a hook. I will use sometimes a provocative or profound, sometimes I'll try and do something humorous, but it'll be a statement. And the reason I'm doing that, it's the same reason if you go along to the cinema and watch a James Bond movie. You get the first opening scene is a big dramatic opening scene. Now, in the case of James Bond, it has absolutely no relevance to the plot of the film in any way whatsoever. So why do they do that? The reason they do that is they want to move that audience to the edge of their seats to get them involved and get them engaged and to get them to pay attention. And we absolutely have to do that as well. Now, I will do that a little bit differently in an online meeting, especially if it's just one-to-one or one-to-few, than I would do in a big kind of stage environment, etc. So I will do it a little bit softer, a slightly different tone, but it is important. I think, just, hey, my name's X, welcome to the call. It's just I think it's very weak, actually. We really want to get them engaged as swiftly as possible and we've just got a few vital seconds to try and hit them with something. So, in fact, if you look at this closely, you'll see I actually had a statement here, a hook, which is don't screw up your next online meeting. I was going to lead with that, but instead I decided to switch with just the stat about Zoom, which is a little bit softer, and I thought actually a slightly nicer idea, but you get the idea. Then we got the desired outcome. Now, I think it's just so easy, right? Online meetings are so easy. Just click of a button and you're there. And in the old days, you have to jump in your car, drive for an hour through traffic, or you jump on a train, or sometimes you've got to jump on a plane and go abroad to actually complete that meeting. Now, in all of those situations, you will probably, give it some forethought, because it's, a significant amount of time is going to be used just to even get there and get back. You think about what information you need to deliver, what information you need to acquire, what are you going to ask for, what's the outcome you're trying to achieve, right? And you're likely to go through all of those steps before that meeting. But with an online meeting, I absolutely know that I've been guilty of this. So sometimes I walked into a meeting, I barely remember what it's about, and I've done no preparation at all, and I'm just kind of winging it. And guess what? The outcome is never as good if I take that approach. So putting this little sheet together keeps me on my toes, keeps me in my best game, and makes me very clear about what is my primary objectives I'm trying to achieve out of this meeting. Now, it doesn't have to be something massive necessarily. It might be just to have a follow-up meeting. It might be just to learn what their requirements are. But being clear about your objective is always really, really important. And with that in mind, what I've learned over many years is to think of 3, 4, or 5 key bits, usually pieces of information, that I want to convey to them that is going to enable me to have the best chance of achieving that ideal outcome, right? So that might be, giving them my unique selling proposition. It might be showing them a testimonial. It might be giving them a case study. It might be talking about price points. It could be a number of different things. But, and I've definitely done this too. There was a time when I had this prep sheet available to me, but I was only kind of half using it. I completed the meeting, looked down and realized I've actually only told them one of the 5 things I needed to give myself the best chance of achieving my outcome. And guess what? I didn't achieve the outcome. So of course you didn't, Simon, because you didn't tell them the frigging important information. And it was a nice meeting. It was very fluid. It was fun, but I forgot to tell them some of the critical bits. So now, having this with me and in front of me, I can't miss that, right? I can't balls it up. And that's the whole point of this cheat sheet, is to make sure it doesn't give us opportunities for screwing things up. So I will literally say, actually, guys, let me just check my little notes here. Actually, there was one other thing I really did want to cover. If I can just have a couple of minutes extra, I would like to talk about X. And that way, I cover all the critical bits I need to. Then the last thing on that list, the last couple of things on that list is the punchline and the outcome. So the outcome is obviously what was the achievement of that meeting. Did I achieve the outcome? Sometimes I will know straight away. Sometimes I might wait a few days before I find that out. But it's important just to make a little note of that. Perhaps I should mention now that what I do is I just turn this piece of paper over and I make all the notes of the meeting on the back of this. So at the end of my meeting, I've got one piece of paper with all the information I need on it. If I ever have a follow-up meeting, I can just refer to that and I've got everything to hand, and it's super easy, super clear, and really, really helpful for me. Sometimes I take a photograph of this as well, just so I can file it digitally if maybe I think might be several months or a long time before perhaps a follow-up meeting might take place for whatever reason. Which leads me to the punchline, right? So it's really, really important to end your meeting on an upbeat kind of punchline. So just as I talked about sort of James Bond earlier, and I continue the film analogy, a big budget film like a James Bond film will often pay over $1 million just to be able to play a piece of music at the end of the film. I've actually checked this out because I found it fascinating. And that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money out of your budget just to play a piece of music as you're walking out of the cinema. Why? That's because we want people to end that experience with the right sort of energy. So what I hate seeing and what I've done way too often is, thanks guys, thanks for a nice meeting, bye now, bye now. And then somebody ends up cutting the other person off because you haven't got a clean, clear end line. So I think that's really important. I actually think it's also something that's quite hard to do. And it does need a little bit of thought to think about, exactly how you're going to end that meeting. One thing I've seen some people do, I've seen it actually work very, very well, and it works particularly well in a kind of video situation, a little bit like this actually. And they've basically got a kind of official sign off, which they do at the end of every single video. It's kind of like a piece of branding, and I've seen that work really, really well. Now that's something I don't actually have in place right now, but something I probably will be putting in place. And I'm actually urging some of the customers that I work with. I work as also an external CMO for several companies. And that's something I'm going to start be pushing on them, because I think it's going to improve some of the videos that we deliver there. So I'll come back to that a little bit later. Now I want to move over to, well, maybe it's the boring half of this, right? This is the technical stuff, but like anything, right? If you go along to the theatre and the lighting screws up, or the cinema and the video machine breaks down, technicalities make a difference to the experience that people receive. So getting this stuff right really, really helps, So let's not get it wrong. So this is my check sheet. I make sure I've got the external mic selected. I make sure I've got a sound level check. Make sure I've selected the right video camera. It's about eye level. Is the face well lit? So you guys, got to look at me if you like it or not. Do I like the back? I like the background. I'm actually lit here as well, which is why I'm probably a little bit shiny. I don't have the background light on remote, so I can't show you that. But believe me, without it, it's just dark and dingy, and it shouldn't make a difference, right? But it does. That's without the light on me at the front, and it just makes it look better, right? So I make sure that I always have that. I always make sure that my mobile is on silent and on do not disturb. The amount of times I've been interrupted by a damn mobile ringing because I've forgotten just to turn it on silent or put the do not disturb on. So that absolutely had to make my sheet for sure. For me, a glass of water. The only thing I've not got on here actually is some sucky sweets. I like to have some sucky sweets nearby. If I'm doing some video takes, I often will suck a sweet in between just to make sure my mouth is lubricated. I'm actually a little bit dry right now, so I'm struggling with my words a little bit. So that's something I probably should put on this list. One of these bits here is an arrow pointing to the camera lens. This is a really important point actually. Now I've actually taken it off of my laptop, because if I pull it on and off during a video, it all bounces around, so it's a bit rubbish. But my little camera, I'm doing this on my laptop, the lens is in the middle of a sort of black bar. It's actually quite hard to see. Now if I look down at the video of me, I'll be looking down here, and that will lose loads of energy through the video as opposed to actually looking at the lens. So usually I will have this simple little sticky note stuck right in the middle of my laptop, directing me and making sure that I look down the damn lens. And during that mastermind that we did recently, there was lots of gold in there really was, but that was the number one thing that actually came out, was just eyes, making sure you look at the lens. So I'm trying very hard to look down the lens as much as possible. And then the last couple of points is recording. If it's something I need to record, I absolutely need to remember to record. I have screwed that up before. I once did a podcast. I think I did about a third of the podcast without it being recorded. What would happen is we recorded it. We've done a couple little mini rehearsals, technical checks, and forgotten to turn the record back on. It was a really simple mistake, and having a little checklist like this will save my bacon, and saved my bacon since. So absolutely important. Just going to go back to one thing on here, which I quickly glanced over. I don't think I actually mentioned it. To make sure your face kind of feels the lens as much as possible, right? Now, I'm not the most attractive guy, but I do, to give myself the best chance of conveying the information, I need to fill up the screen. Maybe I just probably be a little bit closer, to be honest. But just look how, if I'm back here, all the energy that gets wasted and dissipates. I need to be close to the lens. And I actually see really quite few people positioned well where they're sort of filling up the camera lens a lot better. And it's, it's important. It's important for our communication. So these two bits together, the technical side on the right hand side, and then this critical information about how we're going to start the meeting, what we're trying to achieve, the critical things we need to explain, and then the punchline, I found really, really helpful to me. So I'm on a little bit of a mission right now. I've been for some time. We're in this information age, and there's just too much dumb information in the world, right? Information on its own does diddly squat. Me telling you this stuff does absolutely nothing. It only makes a difference if you actually learn from it, use it, embrace it in some way, take it forward, and improve your own sort of delivery yourself. So I'm going to really urge you to either download this PDF sheet, and I'm going to make it easier. I'm just going to include a link below so you can just download this sheet yourself. Alternatively, of course, you can just write down your own one. Please do so, but do it now. Print out 20, 30, 40, 50 copies. Keep them nearby, so next time you've got a meeting, just pull it out, take 2 minutes to complete it, and then deliver your meeting. So that's the first kind of request I've got for you. And the second part, and the last part, is actually a challenge. I'm going to ask you and invite you to take up this challenge. Do that, use this prep sheet, or your own prep sheet, for the next 10 meetings.